if you don't invite someone to your wedding and you have the power to invite anybody and you have the privilege and the resources to invite anybody, that means back to MopedJet. Why is it MopedJet? Because I want a moped and I want a jet, and that's it, dude. And I've been away again. Not, I mean, it was intentional. About to lie to you and say it wasn't intentional because I was, I do a lot. Okay, I'm multifaceted and multifocused, and after my last podcast where I talked about Tyler the Creator's new album, a lot of people seem to hit me with the "oh, I'm a hater," and that inspired me to show you like no, I could personally just do better. And so that's what I went out and did. I'm working on an album right now that is much better than Don't Tap the Glass. So I assure you, when I show it to you, you will know that I know what I'm talking about, okay? I'm taking the scenic route to this point. We're taking the scenic route, all right? So when my album drops and shatters your eardrums in a good way, not not in a bad way, I promise. You will then know I know what I'm talking about. But this episode is not about past episodes. Past episodes are in the past, you know? And I usually don't try to look back unless it's going to build me up. So today we're going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And every time I say today, I think of this little Asian boy on TikTok that is trying to learn English and can't, and his little sister knows it much better, and he tries to say the word today, and then she says it for him. He goes today, and every time I say today, that sound clip plays in my head, and I had to get that out. I had to get that out, man. We're honest here. This is my cheap therapy. Speaking of cheap therapy, I've been going to the gym a lot more. That's awesome. I've been feeling great, um, body wise. You know, I used to only run, and I was running away from lifting weights this whole time. But I found out a hack. I am not a weightlifter. No, I am a machine mover. That's my thing right there. Um, yeah, I'm a machine mover. And at first it sucked, but now it's getting to a point where it feels good. It gives me all the benefits that uh, I assume I'm supposed to be getting. Hold on, my bad. I had it on past settings. So yeah, but I've been going to the gym more and feeling good, moving those machines. And I thought, I was thinking it's kind of crazy being when I guess when I started around 27, 26, I was thinking then it's kind of crazy that I'm 27, I already have lower back problems. Yeah, I know I said a lot. Yeah, I know I don't do much, but lower back problems at 27 is crazy. And come to find, I just figured that I just figured out I just need to go to the gym and do goddamn back exercises. That's all I really had to do. And yeah, I still get some pain here and there, but I only started working out my back and my whole body a month ago, 2 months ago. So a year from now, hopefully my back muscles will support my spine and it will stop hurting itself. Yes, and this podcast is also a medical podcast. So if you have back problems, that's it, dude. Just do some back exercises. That'll help. Uh, but that's not the only reason. The album and working out is not the only thing that's been keeping me away. I've also been physically away from my house a lot. I was on a I went to a work conference, my first work conference. That was decent. And then that was in Chicago. That was for a week. Very interesting way I got that opportunity. I was voluntold to go, and I was excited at the beginning. It was still a good trip. I'm not complaining about the trip, but it was just very interesting because a lot more people were going to go to the conference. But my job was like, yeah, you can go, but we're not going to pay you to go. You got to pay it all out of pocket, and we'll reimburse you 3 months later. Luckily, I I have the bag, and I and I know how to budget it well, so it was no problem to me. But a lot of people dropped out because their credit limit on their credit card didn't even go as high as what some things should be had to be paid for. So mine does because I have good credit. But yeah, anyway, so And I just got back from California. I saw my brother-in-law marry the love of his life. Shout out to those two, beautiful, the beautiful Bluewits over there, and did meet the docs. Oops, I have to censor that. But yeah, it's a good day. It was a good trip. I went to California. I haven't been there since I was a child, and I was trying to be a child actor. That's a whole nother story. But we were in LA for 10 minutes, and then we went to Simi Valley. And I only mentioned where we were, not to docs, but to mention that I saw Kanye West's school, the Donda Academy, which I don't know how I think I heard about that, but it was kind of during the pandemic when it got established. Uh, but I completely forgot about that. And me and my wife, we were looking for somewhere to eat near our hotel, which was crazier. Near our hotel, and I'm looking on the maps to see if there's anything within walking distance, so I didn't have to DoorDash. Ended up having to DoorDash, but I I'm scrolling through the map and I see this thing that says Donda Academy, and I'm like, Donda Academy? That's interesting. That's like Kanye West's album. Then I click on it, and then it says Kanye West's school. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So before we left, I ushered my in-laws, because they drove us to the airport. I ushered them over to that school, and we took a few pictures while we were on the highway, because there's no way to pull in. It's closed, by the way. It's closed, very closed. I thought it was just closed in terms of like the building isn't operational. No, the building is uninhabitable. Okay, there's no walls on some of the buildings. You can see clearly through them. Um, and I was very surprised as well, because on the Wikipedia page it said that it hosted pre-K through 12, which is very ambitious, but it did not look like it looked like it just a one-story building. So I don't know how many students per class or enrolled, I don't know what that was, but I would not want to go to high school there. Not enough bitches. Anyway, what do I really want to talk about today? So there's love in the air, um, in my life, and I have another wedding lined up. And man, weddings are so beautiful, man. Weddings, like, because I had my wedding this year, and when you're doing a wedding, it feels like a job. and and I mean, on the day, I enjoyed when we got to the reception, but like the ceremony, I'm just doing the steps and the moves and focusing on not making uh, a mistake on all these cameras that I paid for. I'm not trying to ruin the aesthetic that I paid for with tripping over myself and falling on the decorations I paid for and capturing it on the cameras I paid for, in the suit I paid for, in the venue I paid for. Those are the things I'm thinking about. So I'm not really like taking it in. I'm not taking it in like, oh wow, that's my family, that's her family, that's my friends, that's her friends. They're all unified, they're all happy for us. I didn't take that in. But at this wedding, I really got to. I got to just relax. I took it in so much, I did not take any pictures, which is so bad on my part. But I feel like that's also great on my part. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know. I didn't grow up with phones. I eventually got one at like what? My first phone was a track phone that we bought from Walmart. Put some minutes on it in like fifth grade, which other than Centipede, didn't really have that many apps. It didn't really have that much utility, other than texting my friend, "Hey, can I come over?" My one friend. Uh, what else? And then I stepped into the real phone market in middle school. So basically what I'm saying is I wasn't spawned in with a phone attached to my hip, or believing that phone should always be around for everything, right? In fact, I grew up in a rare era where being on your phone was rude. But apparently that's gone away. But yeah, I put the cell phone away, enjoyed the vibes, the atmosphere. enjoying my wife. It almost like, not that we're on a decline or anything, but like it reminds you, well, weddings remind you of why we're here. And it's to find people, to be around people, and to love people. It's, that's really what in my opinion, the meaning of life is. Um, is to enjoy your loved ones and make sure they're safe and take care of them and yourself as much as possible. Because if you think about anything else, you're just gonna go crazy. If you focus on anything else, you're just gonna go fucking insane. So I think that's what you should do, and that's what I did. I focused on this wedding. It was great to watch my brother-in-law dance with the love of his life. They were happy. They referenced our wedding and saying how much our wedding inspired their wedding, and that was good to hear. Not like it was like, not in a way like, oh, we just took it wasn't like that. They're just like, uh your dad's speech reminded us to put something, you know what I'm saying? It was just like little elements. I'm sure that their wedding will inspire the next elements of the next wedding. So it was just beautiful to see and beautiful to be a part of. And so that's what I was doing. And I decided I had a break week in between my conference and going to that wedding, but I decided, why would I try to squeeze a podcast in between that when I could just focus on that, um, and making an album? Because this is the fastest I ever made an album, honestly. I mean, it's not done, but usually albums take, for me, take a course of a year, usually, at least like 8 months. And I spend about 4 months like making beats, refining those beats, and then the other however months writing and recording and refining that. But I feel honestly that's probably, not saying this is going to be the album. I think it's a really great album. What I have planned for it, it's going to be amazing. But just because I feel like it's only coming together so well because I made myself produce within a span of a week all these beats. It's not going to be the very long album, but it's a very cohesive album. Like, it all sounds like they should be together, and I will give myself that. Listening back to my old work, my albums haven't been the most cohesive. They've had moments, good songs, good runs and sections, but from start to finish, has it felt like, oh, this is a cohesive project? And I just learned what that word meant, apparently. But does it gel well? Does it belong together really well? Do these beats and do these songs sound like they're from the same era and idea, even? Because a lot of I listen to it and I'm kind of bouncing around. I think that's because I was inspired by the mixtape era, where a lot of songs go from like this vibe to that vibe, because mixtapes are more of a showcase of what you can do, so you can eventually get a record deal, at least back in the day. So you would eventually get a record deal and then get an album that you can hopefully make cohesive, so even in like, I don't know, I just really impressed myself, and I feel like I got to do that a lot more. I got to force myself to produce within a time frame instead of throughout the year, because if you're an artist or even a music maker, songwriter, you get it. You could be in love with something one day and then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, this is trash. And I did that a lot with my production. Like, I would make a beat that I thought was dope, like last month, play it a lot in my car, whatnot, try to write to that. I would like try to make a song and then move on to the next song, make a song, and that's too long, I think, at least in the production phase, because your heart and your ideas can evolve, and you could even abandon the project because you just want to do something else now. And with this one, I made myself sit and lock in to this one idea that I have that I don't want to give too many details away yet. I'll piecemeal it out until I drop. But it's a really cool world that I've built. That's what I was really focused on. I was focused on building a world with this one, and I feel like I'm saying world weird. But yeah, it's just really good, and I listened to it all the way through. It sounds good all the way through, which is really exciting. It's almost like one of those albums that make the time fly by. It's about it's about 23 or 25 minutes ish right now in terms of the raw beats. I don't know how it will be after I add like the post sampling and what I want to do with the lyrics. I could want to add more effects that extends the duration out a bit. But it's great. It's great. But yeah, Anyway, back to weddings. I want to talk about something real quick. I brought that up, but then I started talking about my music. Uh, I brought that up because weddings are also, in my opinion, like a symbol of who you want around in your life for your next stage in life. Because I feel like marriage, no, I don't feel like it is. Marriage is is a different phase of life. Like, I would almost miss childhood, teenage years, and single adulthood all in the same era of life. And this would be part two. Once you find your partner and marry them, this is part two. And then when you have a kid and begin raising them, that's a part three. Now, if you did that in a different order, then obviously the parts are different for you. Like if you had a kid before you got married, that's a part two to your life. Your life is radically different forever. Even if you divorce a person, you are a divorcee. That's radically, you have a person you were married to. That it's literally on your record. Like this is a moment, a milestone in your life. So it's important. So in my opinion, if you have the power and the privilege to invite anyone you want to your wedding, you invite the people you want at your wedding, aka, which I think symbolizes the people you want for the rest of your life, involved in the rest of your life. So I say that to say, and like I said at the beginning of this, I'm getting more real. I don't know if I said that, but I said that in my head if I didn't say it at the beginning. But this podcast is going to become more real with who I am and what I believe. Um, so starting with this one, if you don't invite someone to your wedding, right? And you have the power to invite anybody, and you have the privilege and the resources to invite anybody, that means you do not want them in your part in this next part of your life. If you ask me, that's what I think that believes. I mean, that's what I believe. That's what I think that believes. That's what I believe that says. Okay. So I was noticing everyone at this wedding, and I'm like, wow, everyone is here. Then it made me think about, because it was so awesome and fun. Then it made me think about one of my past friends' weddings that I was not invited to. And I thought about this. I didn't come up with this at this wedding. Like, I've had this philosophy for a while. This is the first time I'm saying this shit on wax. But then I'm like, okay, yeah. It just kind of confirmed. I guess when I was at this wedding and I was around, like, my brother in law, and she comes from a pretty big family, I was looking forward to my next part of life with my family and my friends that I had at my wedding. Um, and it gave me a sense of comfort, because I was kind of bitter. Because one of the guy who didn't invite me to his wedding, I considered he was one of my best friends until he did that. Now we're not friends. If you ask me, because I think that's a bold move. Hey, this guy invited a guy that called one of our mutual friends the N word to his wedding. And yeah, he and that guy were childhood friends, but I don't care what excuse you have for not inviting me, and he didn't invite that guy either. I don't know what excuse you have for not inviting me and that guy, but that guy said the N word with a hard R in front of you. And he got invited to the wedding, right? Had a little corsage and everything. Had to get a really small one because that guy's a very short man. That guy's a Keebler elf. I'm not going to dox any of them. And yeah, I'm going to sound a little salty because it hurt me, bro. It's not cool, man. Like, I would have invited him to my wedding. I was thinking about the Christian thing to do and invite him to my wedding because I feel like you don't have to come. That's a different story. It's just that this is a hand extending out, like, I want you in my next part of my life. If they're busy and can't come, cool. That's fine. But the extension should still be made, right? The invitation should still be extended, I mean. Uh But if you don't even do that, especially this guy has the resources. This guy, not trying to count his money, but comes from money, has a very good job, so he has his money. He could have paid the extra $2 for the letter, bro. The invite, bro. So to me, that tells me, hey, I want the guy that says the N word in my life, but I don't want you in my life. cool. But then I started thinking about. Then I started feeling. I feel like I'm salty because I probably should have known sooner that we weren't as tight, or he wasn't as tight with me as I thought I was with him. You know what I'm saying? Because he is not. This isn't the first time he's done non-friend like things to me, right? When we were in high school. There was this one girl I was talking to, and you get silly. I started when I was in high school. I went to the school that they were at. I went to 3 different high schools. I met him at the third high school, and this high school had a lot of rich kids at it. And this is the first time. Don't give a care what the movies tell you. Drugs aren't in the public schools and in the poor schools. They can't afford that shit, okay? You're not going to get too many weed offers going there unless you know a guy that knows a guy. And then we're all going to huddle around one bowl if we go to that party. You go to private schools, in the rich school where I got to go to, they all have their own personal bowl engraved, and the weed is named after them and grown by like a personal dealer. You know what I'm saying? Like, these kids smoke and do drugs at a very early age. So I was exposed to marijuana very early, and I was smoking with them. And while I was smoking with them, there was one, not him, but there was one of my friends, his cousin. Didn't know it was his cousin at the time. Uh, but we used to get stoned, and then, you know, back when iPod touches were around, they had this little voice note feature, and we would record ourselves, and we would just be as silly as possible because we listened to them later on. It was kind of like before a podcast. We kind of made our own podcast in a way. Excuse me, but we would record ourselves getting high and making all these jokes, saying all these random things, off the wall things, on purpose. That's important to mention. So me and my friend, we were chilling, and it was just us two this time, and we were voice noting and kind of talking. And no, we're in high school, so we started talking about the girls we like. And he knew I had a crush on this girl, and so he's just like, "Hey man, what you gonna do about that girl?" And then I'm like, "Hey man, I'm gonna try to make her mine, trying to act all smooth." I forgot what I said, but then eventually got to him saying, because she was redheaded, and he said, "Well, I don't know, man. Heard she's a fire crotch." And I said, "Hey man, I'll tame the flames of that pussy." You know what I'm saying? And then we laughed. It was a joke. Tell me why this motherfucker. We had, I don't know when he told her, but the guy didn't invite me to his wedding. He told her I said that because we were talking, and apparently she liked me. I don't know. I didn't know. I was in the talking phase. We were just texting and stuff, but she liked me, and uh, she told him that because she was asking about me. She was asking about me, and he said, "Well, you know what he said about you, right?" Only me and Coach and everyone we showed that voice note, which is like 3 other people, 4 other dudes. Our circle was tight. We were small. We were a gang. I thought. Uh, but yeah, he tells her I said that to her about her, and then makes out with her. That was not the only time. Like I said, that guy who was at the wedding that said the N word said it in front of him. He didn't do anything. Um, went to a frat, and he told me that in the writing, the frat openly said that they kept. I mean, it was a clause from a long time ago, but they said there's no colored people allowed in their house. And he said we should change that. And they're like, yeah, but it's not like black people rush our frat anyway. I don't think they got that shit changed. I don't care. I'm not trying to say he's a racist. He's not a racist. He's not a racist. I'm just saying there's things that I should have noticed about this man is all. That he's not really 100%. Here's a non-racist thing that I should have noticed. There was this one guy we used to hang out with, and this podcast is going kind of long, but there's one guy we used to hang out with named Bussing. I'm just going to say that. His name was Bussing, and Bussing had a problem. He's the only guy I've ever met that was actually addicted to marijuana. And Bussing wanted to smoke weed. We were gonna smoke weed, but we were gonna we were with these two girls, and then there was another girl who got off work that we're gonna go pick up, and then we're gonna go smoke. This dude busing, we all meet up in a parking lot because it's the Midwest, and we ask, we're like, we want to go to this spot. Okay, so after you make the plan, you start divvying up the cars. This guy has a van. He tries to convince all of us to get into his van. He said, let's all get into this one van. I was like, that's kind of cramped. You know, at this point with him, the two girls, me, and it's about six, Don, I think. So about this like 6 or 7. It's a van, but it's not that big. You know, it's like that's kind of cramped, and we got one more person. He gets mad at that, and so we're driving all in a car. And then he calls us while we're headed there, and he said, "Where are we going?" And I was like, "We're going to pick up their friend." Like we said, he said, "I didn't know it was this far." The guy didn't have enough gas to go that far, and he got mad because he had to turn around to get gas. And he was on a time crunch for borrowing the car, so he had to turn around and he couldn't smoke weed. So instead of acting like a normal person, just being like, I'll take the L on this, he gets up next to us and throws something at the car. And then, while we're smoking weed, he apparently starts crying and calls up this man who didn't invite me to his wedding. And then the man calls me up and starts yelling at me like he's my daddy or some shit, talking about what did I do to busing. Like, busing is a bitch, first of all. And you know he's not just a bitch, he's a crazy bitch. So you know what it is. So, and you've known me for, at this point, a year longer. No, 2 years long. A year and a half longer than this guy. How are you siding with him so quickly? How are you assuming that, it doesn't matter, actually. He's not my friend anymore. But yeah, weddings are beautiful, man. Oh, shoot. Oh, man. What time is it? Is it time for Silk Song to drop? I'm really trying to... Hollow Knight Silk Song drops, and I've been waiting for that forever. Since 2020, when they dropped the first, reveal trailer, and then it's been delayed, and no news, and then some news, and it's a video game that I'm very excited about. I've been excited for something like this in a while. Let's see if it's ready to... Yes, I'm doing this on the podcast, because if it's ready to buy, I'm buying it, downloading it, and calling it an episode, man. It should be ready soon. Oh, sorry. That's the music. See, doesn't that sound beautiful and awesome? The game plans to unlock in approximately an hour, man. I thought it was gonna fucking... Well, anyway. This was MopedJet, guys. Why is it called MopedJet? I want a moped and I want a jet. Thank you guys for listening. The episodes are going to be more like this, man. I mean, I didn't talk about anything that's trending because I looked up what was trending. Nothing that I care about is really trending. So I just decided to talk about my life, man. And I was going to lead that into talking about dirty macking, but I think I'll leave that for the next episode because this is... I'll squeeze the episode out. I'll end the episode out with dirty macking because that's what that guy did to me about that other girl. He dirty macked. And if you dirty mack to get a woman, you're not a man, man. You're not even a human, if you ask me. You are a parasite, bro. You're a parasite. I that's the worst way, in my opinion, to get a girl. I don't care if you do the counseling thing, that if she's talking to you about the guy and you're just like, dang, that's crazy, and you just keep being that shoulder to cry on, fine. I think that's a shitty way to get a woman too, but I'm not gonna look down on you for it. That is a way to do it, fine. But if you're the type to go behind somebody that's talking to a girl or someone that's even worse dating a girl, and you're just like, oh, well, they did this, or they talk about this, or I would never do that to you. They sound like a piece of shit. You are a piece of parasite, dude. You're not even a piece of shit. You're a parasite that is crawling amongst the pile of the infected animal's stool, dude. You're that. You're the worms inside of that. You're way worse than it. You feed off of shit at that point. I hate dirty macking, bro. I'm glad that I'm out the game because I see a lot of it, especially on reality shows, and I hear a lot of it in story times and stuff. You're not. That's not how you should do it, bro. And stop falling for it, women. Be better than that. If a man is boosting him, not even boosting himself up, he's just really demeriting the guy that you have on a pedestal. He's not even like trying to be the better man. He's just trying to point out all the flaws in the man that you're paying attention to. Don't give that guy plus points, or at least don't start dating that guy. Don't reward that parasitic behavior. He's a he's a he's a scallywag, honestly. He's a low down scallywag, okay? I had to talk about I hate dirty macking, bro. I have a docket here on my phone, and I also have my bucket of random stuff. But 30 minutes we're coming on 30 minutes, and that's about twice the size of the episode. But again, I've been gone. I missed 2 weeks, so I guess I'll give you double the content. I did record an episode, but I'm not that proud of it because I did it low key right after the episode I put out. So I don't have that much steam, and I think I talk about similar trending topics, and those topics aren't trending anymore. That's probably the downfall of putting a trending topic section in the podcast, is if you get lazy like I do most of the time, and if you miss a week, that episode's null and void. So yeah, this podcast is gonna be more me. If you don't like that, you're a hater, dude, and you don't like black people. That's honestly what that means. But if you did like it, please hit the like button. Helps the algorithm. Leave a comment for sure, even if it's just an emoji. Makes me know that someone that wasn't a robot watched this, and makes me feel good. If you are interested in watching me play Silk Song, there's probably going to be I'm going to stream it, then I'm going to upload Let's Play clips, aka just to stream on my other channel, Kirby. Wow, that's terrible. That's KURBIEY. And I also stream on Twitch and stuff, so check out the links in the description. And I do comedy. Check out my this channel for that. I have a lot of stuff everywhere on YouTube. I was thinking about streamlining it into one channel, but I have so many subscribers on one channel and so many subscribers on this channel, and I do so many different things that it'd probably be an overload if I try to put them all on one channel. But anyway, eat your vegetables. I can never do intros.